Hello, this is Steven Out. Yes, we're back with another Batman 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode The Great Escape, with Shame once again returning, and this time teamed up with a new accomplice, Calamity Jan. Without any further ado, let's head straight for the review. We begin this episode at Gotham State Prison, where in the visiting room, Shame is being visited by his fiancée, Calamity Jan, and Calamity Jan's mother, Frontier Fanny, soon to be Shame's mother-in-law. The three then begin to plan a breakout and to form a gang. We then cut to the prison yard, where Shame is throwing horseshoes, but a distraction comes and he ends up knocking out two of the guards with the horseshoes and quickly runs to the wall, where he is taken away by a tank being driven by Calamity Jan and Frontier Fanny. We then cut back to Bruce and Gordon and Barbara in their apartment, eating fondue, but Gordon gets a call that Shane was back, and of course he naturally calls up Batman and Robin. Whilst that's happening, Bruce uses one of his cussings to order a signal device to the Batcave where Alfred and Robin are, and basically have him plug in the call to the Bat phone where a special tape message will be done. As such, he's managed to save his identity and get informed of everything and immediately leave. Opening credits, and we see Batman and Robin rushing to police headquarters. As soon as they get there, they've been informed that the tank's been found, but Shame, Calamity Jan, Frontier Fanny are nowhere to be seen. They then get a call that a horse is in the outer office. Of course, it's not really a horse. What it actually is a sawhorse, and a note been sent by Shame, with revealing clues to his caper that he's going to steal a rock and a roll at the Gotham City stage. However, they don't know what he's talking about. Barbara just happens to come in and is informed of the whole thing. Batman and Robin then leave to the Batcave to decipher more of the clue. We then go to Gotham Park Stables, where Shame is meeting his gang. A Mexican named Fred, though speaks with a British accent, and an Indian named Chief Stan and Pat. I love what they've done here. Shame is a Western character, and these are Western character stereotypes. This episode really understands that and is making full advantage of it. I absolutely love that. Whilst that's happening, Shame explains that his big caper involves them having to steal a rock and a roll, and then as soon as that's done, and once they've gotten rid of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, he plans to pull off what he likes to call the Great Train Robbery. And as a result, the gang is ordered to go outside, whilst Calamity Jan and Shame try to have some alone time. But Frontier Fanny said no, you can't until the marriage has been arranged. So essentially, he can't do that until the marriage day. Back at the Batcave, Batman and Robin manage to decipher some of Shame's clue: a rock and a roll, a bankroll, and a diamond. But what's the Gotham City stage? They then get a call from Barbara, posing as Batgirl, telling her she's figured out the stage bit, but can't figure out head or the roll. Batman says that they will meet them at the Gotham City Opera House. Just as that's happening, Shame and his men enter the opera house and end up subduing the stage door manager and continue going. Batman and Robin are outside and discussing the whole clue. Batman managed to decipher that it's the opera house because of a play, basically is a Western play, a Western opera. Batman realizes that makes sense because these two leading stars in that production have weird quirks. One carries at least a ton of money of cash in pockets for luck, and the female opera singer wears a diamond necklace, and it's has quite the carrots. Just as that's happening, Shame and his men are apprehending the two opera singers who are bickering between the two and relieve them of the diamonds and cash. And just as they're about to leave, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl turn up, and we get a pretty decent bat fight. With all the henchmen and Shame knocked out, the problem is, where are the girls? They then come in spraying this gas, essentially fear gas. All three are then scared out of their wits, and they end up taking Batgirl as a hostage. Batman and Robin somehow manage to make their way back to the Batcave, where Alfred gives them bat antidote soup. As a result, they've managed to shake the fear out of them, and I get a call from Gordon explaining about the predicament and that his daughter is nowhere to be seen. With that out of the way, they have to try and figure out where Shane would be. And apparently, we get a bit of exposition dump, or something we don't know about Shane, and that he's happiest when he's around horses. Where could he be? Robin suggests the police riding academy, but Shane would not be that brazen to hide in a police stable. But Batman comes to the conclusion that it must be the Gotham Park stables, as it's just right across from the Opera House. We then see Shane and his men quickly about to make their leave and take Batgirl as a hostage, so that way Batman and Robin could back off. But just as they're leaving, a horseshoe which has been hanged up there, a sign for good luck for Shane and his crew, ends up falling on Frontier Fanny's head just as they're leaving, and they apparently don't notice her. Batman and Robin then enter the stable and see Frontier Fanny knocked out. They then pick her up and ask her where Shane is, and she refuses to divulge, and saying if anything happens to her, Batgirl will not be living through the night. And that's where we end our episode. Batman, Robin, and Batgirl working here this time around feels more easily fixable, because usually, again, a problem I think we've all had with season 3 is really how Batgirl integrates with the plot as we go on per season. But by this time, I think they finally got it right, how they do it, and that's really great. Also, I like how Batgirl is mostly going up against villains she's never heard of, especially this one, but Batman and Robin had experience taking him down. Alfred helping out with Batman is another thing that really works well and really makes him really be a part of the plot, and as usual, Gordon and Chief O'Hara really do nothing at all really except exposition dumps. But of course, let's talk about the villain. Shane is back this time around, still played by Cliff Robertson. Now, how he looked in his season 2 appearance and how he looks here in season 3, the character has slightly, I think, changed a little bit in appearance wise, but here the season 3 appearance looks more natural, and the hat is definitely different too. Also, he's played to be a little bit more dumb, and Robertson is really having more free range with the role this time around. And how he's playing, and I also like how he plays off with his gang in this episode. Shane has always been one of my favorites. I've always had a weak spot for Western characters, and for me, I just really love how Shane interacts with everyone. And the question is, how is he smart enough to pull these heists together, but he's really dumb? That's always been a mystery. But that doesn't matter when Shane here is interacting with other characters that makes his character work, especially with these extra special guest villainess. The extra special guest villainess played character is Calamity Jan, a reference to Calamity Jane, a famous gunslinger of the Old West, and from what I've been able to research, she was in Deadwood, the same town that the Wild Bill Hickok was famously gunned down in. And she is played by Dina Merrill, who, from my research, was actually married to Cliff Robertson around this time these episodes aired. Even though her character may be considered kind of bland, I like how she plays off with Shame. But another thing is also her character actually has a bit more substance than the average character that's really meant to play off. First off, she's not a female accomplice, she's Shame's fiancée. The two share natural chemistry that really works, and you can really tell that the two really love each other. And I think most of that goes to Diane's just automatic relationship and chemistry she has with Cliff Robertson. These two just work immensely well together. Another thing I think really works with Shane in this episode and the second part is his gang. First off, we have a member of the gang is Frontier Fanny, Calamity Jan's mother, and Shane's essentially mother-in-law. I like how Shane just doesn't, is annoyed by her presence, and really doesn't want her to be there. And I just like how the actress really pulls her character off here. Works really well. Another thing I like is his gang. In Shane's first part, he mostly just teamed up with guys dressed up as cowboys, but here we make full advantage of the idea that Shane is a Western villain, so it makes sense that his henchmen should be something more stereotyped on the old frontier, such as Chief Stand and Pat, essentially an Indian, and Fred, one of those Mexican bandits. His full name is Fernando Ricardo Ike Dominguez, but Fred speaks with a sort of British accent, a sort of play on. He looks like a savage, a ruffian, but he has a sophisticated accent. And the Chief Stand and Pat. Now, for many people, they may not like him and think racist, but I don't. The idea is they're making fun of Western stereotypes of the Old West. So it's not being racist, but making fun of the stereotypes. So I don't really call it racist. And these guys work well with Shane. First off, Shane does not understand Fred's speech pattern. So he's always questioning, is he really Mexican? And it's a recurring gag within this two-part, and I loved every minute of it. What makes Shane really good in this episode is he has a good gang to work with, to play off, and it's funny as we go through it. The Great Escape for me is so far a good beginning to this two-parter. We are reacquainted with another beloved villain from Season 2. This time is playing off with a good gang, and we don't know his plot yet, but it revolves around the Great Train Robbery. And to, of course, what everyone knows, that is a classic Western caper to pull off. And I think it just works really well because Shane is working really well with everyone around him. And there we have it. That was The Great Escape. Join us next time when we review the second part to this two-parter, The Great Train Robbery. So until next time, tune in to the next Steven Hour, the next Steven channel. Ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.